I just want to touch on a few other issues pertinent to tourism as well, outside of St Patrick's Day, like Brexit and coronavirus, because I know they're in the news a lot. So I'll just touch on them as I go through the presentation and give you sort of a sense of how the year is shaping up as well. And I'll do the global greening just at the end then, if that's okay. So just to remind us of all our targets, that's why we're here, it's to drive additional business. We're looking to drive revenue this year up by 3% to 5.94 billion. That's the spend for the tourism industry by overseas tourists across the island of Ireland, driven by just under 11.4 million visitors. So that's what a successful outturn to 2020 will look like. The challenges that we're facing over on the right hand side, I'll talk about coronavirus and Brexit later on. Air access is still really important for us. 85% of everybody who comes here comes by air. Our air access picture this winter is down 4%. That's a challenge for us, mainly arising from the withdrawal of Norwegian services from the United States market that was there last year. The talk of trade wars is all out there. I mean, it's gone down in the news a little bit with what's happening over in China right now. The economic slowdown, probably more headlines coming from mainland Europe than anywhere else, which is posing a challenge for us there. And competitiveness, the whole area of value for money, which is absolutely critical for our industry. Now, just to talk about two of those separately, I mean, coronavirus is all over the news at the moment. And just to put this in perspective, the Chinese travel market is the biggest outbound tourism market in the world. 160 million Chinese will take outbound trips in a typical year. The Irish exposure to the market is actually quite small. Only 0.9 of 1% of our market comes from China, and we have no direct flights during the winter period. But obviously there's a significant humanitarian issue going on in China. The steps that Tourism Ireland have taken is that we communicate very closely with Ambassador Eoghan O'Leary, who's based in Beijing, Trace Healy, our Consul General in Shanghai, and David Costello, our Consul General in Hong Kong. We're in a regular contact with them. We're preparing a weekly report in relation to the impact on tourism. We suspended our tourism activity over in China just for now. We had to pull our China sales mission that was due to go out next week to Beijing, Shanghai and Guangzhou for obvious reasons. But we are ready to go back into the market when needs be. And we'll have a sales mission, at least one, possibly two sales missions at a later point in 2020 when it's safe to do so. So keeping a very close eye in relation to it, but certainly the impact of the coronavirus on tourism has certainly been felt in Asian markets, particularly the markets like Japan, Thailand, Cambodia, Korea, where some of those markets have seen a 50% decrease in tourism because of their dependence on the Chinese market. Moving on to talk about Brexit, I mean, the initial withdrawal agreement is now passed. This is our picture of our Brexit task force, which has actually been meeting for 3.5 years now, believe it or not. Top members of the UK and Irish travel industries have been getting together. We've carried out 6 waves of research in Great Britain. That meeting was actually in Westminster last week, ironically. So that Brexit task force has been a great forum for us to keep a handle on the impact of Brexit on the views of the British consumer, because ultimately what we're interested in is this going to impact on people's intention to take holidays and where and when. We've been conducting this in 6 waves of research, and we have a new Great Britain market strategy in place as well to mitigate the impacts of Brexit. So just moving on to 2020, a couple of key themes that are at the centre of our tourism strategy. Firstly, this year is about really trying to drive business into the regions, working very closely with the regional airports and carriers like Ryanair, Aer Lingus, Loganair, anybody that's driving business into the regions. Great to see, for example, Aer Lingus putting new routes from Paris and Barcelona into Shannon, Amsterdam going into Cork. So those are very, very valuable in the context of regional balanced development. In addition to that, we've put up a series of twinning partnerships around the world with different regions around Ireland, twinned them up with different countries where we've got good air access, good partnerships in terms of international media, and it's given an additional focus to those regions from a tourism perspective through the course of 2020. Our traditional publicity is still very important to us. If we were to buy all the publicity that Tourism Ireland and Fáilte Ireland generate, just 2 examples here, the Sunday Times and BBC Good Food, it would cost us €354 million. And 65% of that, 2/3 of that, will be going into the regions of Ireland during the course of 2020. Season extension important as well. The summer season generally very busy as it is, so we're trying to grow business in Q1 and Q4 when we've got good value and a lot of capacity spare. So we're working on festivals, for example, Taste the Island, Puka, New Year's Festival, St Patrick's, Bram Stoker, Wexford, May the 4th Festival and Tradfest in Temple Bar. Just examples of some of many festivals that we work with in the off-season to drive that business and give people plenty of reasons to come. Working very closely with Galway 2020 European Capital of Culture, and also great accolade in Lonely Planet being the best in travel 2020, which has given us a great story to tell in the international media for 2020 as well. Our new digital personalised messaging on our digital platforms is going to go live very shortly in various markets. And that means, just an example of it, we can actually talk to people more focused about what their interests are from what they're looking at on our website, be it a cycle in the Greenway, relax in Waterford. So much more targeted messaging on the marketing technology side, and that fully integrated with our new Ireland.com website that will launch in Q3 later on this year. We have about 23 million visitors, up 15% on our website at the moment in a typical year. But more importantly, our Facebook platform has the fourth biggest in the world with 4.5 million fans, an average of 220 friends each. So if everybody likes and shares one thing on Facebook, it reaches almost 1 billion people. That's the significance of these digital platforms. Fourth in the world on Twitter, fifth largest in the world on YouTube with 63 million views, and on Instagram 759,000 followers. So a platform of 1 billion people through those digital platforms alone, and over in China on Weibo and Tencent as well. So just running through our 4 main markets that we divide our geographies down into. North America and Australia offer the best prospects for growth for tourism in 2020. We'll see a 4% increase in air access from North America into Ireland this year, driven mainly by Aer Lingus expansion on both the West Coast and East Coast, American Airlines expansion from Dallas into Dublin, and a new route by United Airlines from San Francisco into Dublin during the summer months. In relation to mainland Europe is looking quite flat this year. We're certainly seeing an impact in Germany on the economic side and also on the air access side. So, for example, Aer Lingus and Ryanair have both withdrawn routes from Germany, which is our third most important market. Better prospects in France, given the air access situation, but certainly the economic picture in Europe generating a much flatter picture from a tourism perspective. Great Britain is going to be an interesting year, and despite all the Brexit uncertainty, we still had 4.7 million people visit the island of Ireland last year from Great Britain. It was a remarkable performance. It was actually just fractionally up. And this year could hold promising prospects, given that the sterling movement has worked in our favour in the last number of months. It's up at about 120 at the moment, and certainly there's more confidence that I've detected in the Great Britain market, but we still have to see that conversion into actual business, but certainly better prospects from Great Britain than we've seen in the last 3 years. In relation to emerging markets here, it's a tale of two halves, I'm afraid. The Chinese story is a very difficult one for now, and things will get worse before they get better. In relation to other markets like the Middle East, India, I think all that sort of Asian side of the story is going to be affected by what's going on in China. So we're keeping a very close watch on it, and I think it's going to be a difficult year now for emerging markets, and that's really only unfolded in the last month. Now, in relation to the St. Patrick's Day story, well, no other country has this around the globe. This started 10 years ago with the greening of the Sydney Opera House in 2010, and that was actually the 200th anniversary of the first reception for Irish expats held by a guy called Governor Lachlan Macquarie, who was then the Governor of New South Wales. And here we are 10 years later. Last year we had 470 iconic landmarks in 55 different countries. This year we expect to be in excess of 500, and there are just some examples there. And Empire State Building, Niagara Falls, both sides, the American and Canadian sides. The Las Vegas sign in the Strip of Las Vegas, that's the Sydney Opera House, a stunning image, one of the first to go green. The Leaning Tower of Pisa will go green again, the London Eye, the Burj Al Arab in UAE. And the story behind this one, by the way, I went over to see Gerald Lawless, who was then the president of the Jumeirah Group, and I just asked him, would you light up the hotel green for St. Patrick's Day? And you had to approach Sheikh Mohammed on that, but they were very keen to do it because the connection is with Ireland. And the result there is now we've got 6 icons greened in Dubai. Last year we got the Burj Khalifa as well, and where you've got triple daily flights with the likes of Etihad and Emirates, it just generates much more awareness for Ireland than we would otherwise have around the world. A few funny ones as well, Macnamoose in Saskatchewan and Canada, Chain Bridge in Budapest, did everything to be lighting up things green in countries like that? No. And then new for 2020, Madison Square Garden in New York. So, again, great to have something like the Empire State, but great to have new things coming on stream all the time. And also Caerphilly Castle in Wales, the Kissing Couple statue in Amsterdam, the world's largest beaver in Beaver Lodge in Canada, so the whole range of everything. The Smurf statue in Brussels, we'll take them all, by the way. All this generates really good PR for us. It will cost us well in excess of 10 million to generate the PR that we get from that. And again, just to thank the teams at the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade for all the support they give us in putting this together. We're introducing a new campaign this year around St. Patrick's Day as well, called Green is the New Black. It's a bit of a play on Black Friday to some extent. What we're trying to do is convert the huge interest that there is around Ireland on St. Patrick's Day into additional business. So the big players like Ryanair and Aer Lingus have signed up to this to give us really good offers out there to come to Ireland on holiday. And hundreds of small businesses have signed up as well to put really good offers out there. Press the value for money message, particularly the off-season. And this is going to be a great time for us because it's just a time when Ireland is trending #1 on social media for all the right reasons. So that is the Formula One Tour.